it's Christy back with another video. So recently I completed 2 sketchbooks, which is super fun and cool, and I wanted to spend some time just going through each one, doing a flip through, and looking at my progress. I love to do that. I think that the most important thing about art is that you're having fun, and in the process of having fun, hopefully you improve your skills. So I'm trying as an art hobbyist to do both things, and so I want to look at these 2 sketchbooks. They served kind of different purposes, kind of the same purpose for me depending on what I was doing, but let me talk about each one and why I like each one and why I have replaced each one with basically the same thing. So this is a Stillman & Byrne Beta Series sketchbook. It's a soft covered one and it is cold pressed. So here are things that I love about this. It is a mixed media cold press sketchbook. We'll do the flip through in a minute. It has some tooth, but not a ton. It was able to take watercolor well, but it's a cellulose paper, so it's not going to be like your masterful masterpieces with watercolor, but it was able to still provide a fun watercolor experience while being an excellent mixed media sketchbook. Honestly, when I first got this thing and I started it in July of 2021, I thought I'm probably never going to use this. I wasn't crazy about the way that rose came out, and I was like, oh, it's okay, but it's probably not going to be my go-to. But I just kept grabbing it again and again and again. And so it proved me wrong that it was a fun sketchbook to work in. It was low stakes, but it was quality that was able to kind of translate to multiple different mediums. The only thing I really wouldn't use in the sketchbook is alcohol marker, not because it couldn't perform with alcohol marker, but because I think it would just eat alcohol marker up because it's a mixed media paper and it's meant to soak up wet media. So I would not use alcohol markers in here. So that was this one. This is my beautiful, very special Etcher mixed media cold pressed watercolor sketchbook. I have yet to find a better sketchbook that is affordable than these Etcher mixed media cold press sketchbooks. I love them. This was my first. I had 3, and this is the kind of A5 sized one, and I love working in it. It is amazing for watercolor. It is amazing for watercolor pencils. I don't think I did any colored pencil work in here. We'll have to look when I go through. It worked really well for gouache, but this one was incredible to work with for my wet media projects. And I am primarily a watercolor hobbyist artist, so that was the thing that I used this for. This one took me a little bit longer to get through, again, because generally I did things that took a little more time in here because watercolor sometimes takes more time. So I started this sketchbook, I just did these 2 pieces recently because I skipped the first 2 pages, but I started it right at the beginning or the end of 2020. So this was probably the first piece I did in here, and it was done in December of 2020, and I'm just finishing it now here in May of 2022. I have replaced both of these sketchbooks with other very similar sketchbooks to these. So my new Stillman & Byrne book, the one thing I didn't love about this was that the spine made it a little bit hard sometimes. So I got one that has a wire-bound spine, but it's the same beta series. It's the same paper on the inside. So I'm very excited to fill this guy up going forward. And I have another cold press Etcher sketchbook that is not within reach right now, but I got a portrait book instead of a landscape book just to see how I like it. I might not like it at all. We're going to have to find out. So we will see. But I'm going to come back and we will go through each of these and I'll talk about the pieces. Let's go ahead and go through the Stillman & Byrne sketchbook first. They've got some fun stickers on the front here. I have some Sketchbox stickers on here. This says Friends, and it's the Friends from Beauty and the Beast. And this is his Doomsayer Designs original sticker. So if you don't know, I've talked about Jake over at Doomsayer a lot on this channel, but I just love that. So I like to put stickers on here. They kind of give me a little bit of an idea about the timing of the sketchbook so that I can remember. So I'm Artsy Christy now, but this was started in July 2021. I did this piece here. I believe this was done on, it says July 25th of 2021. I didn't date everything, but it was nice that I dated this. But this turned out really cute. You know, when in doubt, I make cactuses. That's kind of one of the things I like to do. I love how the flower on this cactus turned out. I feel like that was really, really good. I am guessing that I did this either with my Daniel Smith paints or my M. Grimm watercolors. That would seem to be, that's what it looks like, because I don't think I had my set of Rosa watercolors yet. And I definitely didn't have the pink in the Rosa set yet, so I don't think this was Rosa. This was just a testing page for, I don't even remember, these were for the Clean Color Dot metallic pens. I'm not sure what that is from that I was testing, but there it is. And then this is Phi from Skyward Sword. I've come a long way in doing faces and work, but this was in July of 2021. Not too bad. And there's a lot of Zelda themed pieces in here because I used this quite a bit for my Linktober. Here we just did a couple little flowers. Again, I think I was just playing with testing the abilities of the sketchbook against the mixed media versus what I like to do with loose watercolors and seeing what I could do. Now, this was done with Prismacolor pencils, and I did use a colorless blender, an alcohol blender, to help me with this. But this is where I really got excited about this sketchbook, because the colorless blender mixed with the Prismacolors was just magic on this paper. I was able to get beautiful blends, and I just love how this piece turned out. And so I did this one here, and then on the next page, I did Makar from Wind Waker, and this is probably my favorite Zelda piece to date that I've done. I love this little guy. I have another Korok that I did in here that I'm really proud of too, but I really, really love how he turned out. Just my perfect little Korok baby. He turned out really good, and I still look at him and feel good about this piece, which tells me that it is something special. So there he is. And sometimes I do swatches in sketchbooks. This one in particular, I like to swatch in because it kind of tells me with my mid-range supplies how they'll handle on paper like this. So this was the De La Rowney Aquafine 24 half pan set. I keep that one in my desk at work to use on my lunch hour. And I really like that set, actually. It's a really fun set of watercolors, and if you guys want me to do a mini review on it, I would be glad to do it. But in terms of like Cotman style, it's definitely student grade set, but it is, I would say, as good as Cotman. So if you're interested in the De La Rowney Aquafine 24 half pan set, let me know in the comments below. Alright, so here are my Inktober pieces for 2021. I did a whole video series on these pieces, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on them right now. But I do just want to talk about the rules I used for myself for Inktober, because most of these aren't masterpieces. But what I was trying to do with Inktober this year was to practice my line work and my wash work and just being fast. Because, not saying that you should do art pieces fast, but sometimes we can get bogged down in the details. So my goal with each of these pieces was to sketch, ink, draw, and wash it all in 10 minutes. Now, if I needed to wait for something to dry, I wouldn't count that against my timer. And it's not like I did set a timer, but like if I was a little over or a little under, it was fine. I was just trying to give myself a general, like, don't get caught up in the details. I was working full time, but I wanted to make sure that I like actually completed all of the Inktober stuff. So that was my goal. So these were days 1 and 2. I do like days 3 and 4. I think they were some of my favorites that turned out really well. The vessel was like exactly as complicated as it needed to be. And doing a 10-minute art piece really tells you like how much time you have to put in detail and how much time you don't. So it was a good practice for me as an artist. So Raven and Spirit, not my favorites. Fan and Watch. I think the watch turned out pretty cool. And there's metallics on here you can see. Pressure turned out pretty cool, the pressure cooker. I thought it really turned out nice. And then there's a guitar pick that I made in honor of my daughter. Sour. And I did Stuck in Roof, so I took 20 minutes on this one. but I just couldn't resist putting Santa stuck in the roof. I thought that was funny. Tick, I really liked how that one turned out too. Neat piece. Helmet. So this was a page, this whole page, I was pretty proud of how this whole page turned out. I like the lighting on the lemon. That was a goal, and I think I did well with it. Compass, Zelda compass, of course, and 17 Collide. I was trying to show movement, and I think I did okay. It could have been better, but it's not too bad. Moon, another one of my favorites. Look how cool this granulating paint went together with that piece, and it just worked. I think I might have used some water-soluble charcoal in there, which I think was a really good move. It just really turned out neat. Loop, which I made an infinite loop. Sprout and Fuzzy, I like how those ones turned out. The Sprout one especially is cute. Open, that's an advent calendar. Leak, there's a leaky faucet, and like I tried to get kind of that like turquoise patina on some of the parts of the faucet that, you know, show that it's like about ready to corrode over. It's an old faucet, but that one didn't turn out too poorly. Extinct is somebody who's been killed in Among Us. Splat, Connect, and Spark. I like Spark. I think that turned out well. Crispy and Patch. Again, I'm really happy with a lot of the like here the egg has a lot of depth for being a 10-minute piece. I feel good about that. Slither and Risk. I think that's it. That's the end of the days. So this was a fun thing, and I'm glad that I did it. And I don't know how I'm going to do Inktober next year, but I really think that overall this turned out really, really well for me. This is a piece that I did, I found a picture on, I think I found it on Unsplash, and I wanted to make a layer cake. So this is a combination of watercolor and Prismacolor pencils, and I like how it turned out. Actually, I'm taking a crayon class, a watercolor crayon class from Lindsay the Frugal Crafter, and she used the same photo, and so I'm really excited to try to recreate this with my Neocolor 2s, and so maybe that'll be a rewind and repaint, which is another series I haven't done in a while on this channel. This was a Linktober piece. It was, again, I think Volt Fruit was the reason I did this, but it turned out pretty cute. I never went back and put the prickles on the cactus, but now I kind of like the way it looks, so I'm going to leave it. I did some fairies here, and I was just trying to mimic like a background where the fairies were the only thing in focus. I think it turned out pretty cool. I made Impa's Sheikah hat. I think I used some gouache on this piece. I definitely used gouache on this piece. I used some of my jelly gouache. I really like my little set of Himimaya jelly gouache. It is a lot of fun to work with. I've really enjoyed going through it. Kikwi, again, now we're into more Zelda pieces, so I really enjoyed that. I did the Triforce with the Furore, Din, and I can't remember the third one. Nehru, there it is. Logos, but yeah, that turned out cute. This is the mail game from Wind Waker. I don't remember all of the challenges for Linktober. I didn't actually finish Linktober this year. I got close, but life just got too busy. October is already a busy month for me. And then this was doing Zelda and Link in a different style, or Zelda and Link with outfits, different outfits. And so I did them as Mario characters. I tried to reimagine them as Mario characters. And that's Link in the Royal Guard's outfit, and Zelda in her outfit that she wears before they're both Breath of the Wild outfits. But yeah, I did some gouache work there, and I actually like how these pieces turned out for me. I'm not a portrait artist at all, so those were fun to try to do. This is Aquamentus from the OG Zelda game, but again, turned out really cool. Oh, this was the outfit piece. So that one turned out neat. It's supposed to mimic like a online site where you would be buying a prom dress that is Zelda themed, because when I was a kid, that would have been a really cool thing to have. This was a piece I did with the Lens of Truth, where you can see Fi inside of the Master Sword. Just thought that was kind of a neat idea. and I had fun with some metallic paints here, you can see. This is a mandala I drew. I really like how this turned out. I used my, I'll have it sitting right here, I'll grab it. I used my Zig Writer for Vellum pen. I really love this pen. This pen doesn't move under other markers. It doesn't move under watercolor. It's really a good workhorse, and it came in a subscription box. I have to remember what subscription box it came in, but when it came I was like, this isn't going to be that great. But it has been a pen that I have reached for a bunch of times, so I just feel like I should point that out because it's a pretty good one. Alright, now we're getting into some of the Christmas pieces I did this year. You guys know I love to do jellyfish, so this is just me doing a jellyfish that is red and green and gold for Christmas. It's like silly colors, and a jellyfish would never be those colors, but I think it turned out fun. Each year I try to do a Grinch piece. This is the one I chose this year, and I did this with my Caran d'Ache Neo Color 2s. I wanted to see how they would perform on this paper, and I do really like them on this paper. In general, they're really fun to work with. I'm looking forward to taking Lindsay Wyrick's class on them and getting more acquainted with them. Here's a little gnome I did at Christmas time. Super cute. This was done with my Rosa watercolors. So I got them for my birthday this year. That's what I thought. The earlier ones were not Rosa. This is definitely Rosa watercolors. And I just wanted to see how the colors and everything would perform here. And yeah, they turned out good. I love my Rosa watercolors, and I was just playing with loose florals. I'm never going to get a perfect loose florals piece on this paper, but it is still fun to play. And sometimes when you don't want a lot of pressure, it is good to have a paper or a sketchbook that you can do that in. And so I really enjoyed doing that. This page didn't pan out so well, but everybody has a couple pages like that in your sketchbook. I don't love how this jellyfish turned out, and this was a Mad Tea Party game that I got the proportions kind of messed up on. The teacups were meant to be different sizes, but the bottom I just kind of gave up. Never went back to it. Maybe I will eventually go back to it. I have an idea about how I can fix it, but I just never got around to it. And so when you're feeling like you have bad sketchbook pages, sometimes you go to things that you know you can do well. So here is me with, I believe, again, my Rosa watercolors, doing a, this was Rosa, doing a little cactus piece. And I like how this one turned out. This is my Korok that I did for the Zelda Creators 999 Koroks, 900 Koroks. So we did a piece where we actually, a bunch of artists came together and we had over 450 different unique Koroks in the piece. We didn't get to 900, but it was still really fun. I named this little guy Bobbin. Adding IN to the name of things is like a Korok thing for how you name them. And he was holding a paintbrush, so I imagined that he was like Bob Ross. And so I named him Bobbin. He's my little Korok baby. I'm really proud of him and the shading on the leaf on his face. I think he turned out really, really cute. This was a fun test that I did, this page here. This was pretty recent. I wanted to see how different pencils would react. So this was done with my Brute Printer Macaron pencils. Super cute, turned out really awesome. This one was done with my Prismacolor pencils, and again, turned out really good. And this was done with a combination of Caran d'Ache Luminance and Derwent Lightfast pencils. So I wanted to see if I am of a skill level where it would make a difference. And right now, I don't think that it does make a difference. I do love these very fancy pencils, but I don't get them out all that often. I can't go wrong with my Prismacolors, though right now, I am in love with the Derwent Chromaflows. So I've been doing a little of both of those lately. This was very recent, this picture, so most of what's coming up here was in the last couple of months. This was a class from Colby Bloom's Watercolor Seascapes. She did like 10 days of watercolor seascapes leading up to the release of her new book. I just got her book. I haven't really looked at it yet too much, but I am excited for it. If you don't know Colby Bloom, you should know her as At This Writing Desk. She is an amazing watercolor artist who I value a whole lot. But yeah, really loved how this turned out. And again, sometimes it's just fun to see how far you can take mixed media paper, because this is cold pressed paper, and I guess it's technically watercolor paper, but it isn't the book I reach for when I want to do fancy watercolor pieces, but that one turned out really good. Here is me playing around with my Prismacolor pencils again, just trying to get more blending in. I was learning the limitations of what I can do on top of pencils without fixative. I had a lot of things come off in this piece, but it still turned out cute. Just another watercolor piece. Again, sometimes I just want to chill out and paint mountains and paint trees, and that's what I did here, and paint a sky. Same thing here. Sometimes I just want to chill out and paint some really pretty palm trees, and I did that here. This was with my ChromaFlow pencils, and I used an alcohol marker to blend it out, and it turned out really good. The middle macaron is a little big. I don't know, it seems a little too big for me, but overall the blending was really fun, and I had a good time doing this one, and I like how they turned out. They turned out pretty cool. So this is actually, I did this one on a previous video where I talk about the new Winsor & Newton Cotman travel palette that I bought and I love. And then this is an upcoming video where I'm going to look at all of my Viviva color sheets that I have, and this is all of the swatches. So this is a upcoming video content you're seeing here early. So that's coming up. But yeah, again, sometimes you just need a swatch on a reliable paper, and so you do it in Sketchbook. This was a doom prompt that I just recently did. It was an ancient stone doom prompt, and of course that made me think of Zelda, and it made me think of time shift stones. I don't love where I put the Sheikah symbol. I messed that up, but otherwise this was a fun piece, and I was trying with what watercolors did I use on this? I think I used my Daniel Smith watercolors. I think I used Daniel Smith. Yeah, I did. And I was just trying to see if I could get like a really pretty watercolor background. So I really love the backgrounds here. And then the very last page in the sketchbook is me just doing what I like to do best. Trees and a pretty sunset sky, and then adding some stars. So I just wanted to end it on something I knew I was going to love. I love how my trees turned out in this piece. I think that I am getting more confident to make my trees look more flowy and natural, and that is exactly my vibe with them. So that is my first sketchbook. Let me go ahead and grab the other one, and we will keep rolling. So as I said before, this is my Etcher Lab sketchbook, and this one I did more of my more serious watercolor pieces. There are 2 pages in here I'm not going to show you just because they are personal, and so those are the only 2 pages I'm going to skip, just as an FYI. So here we have neurographic painting, first one I ever did, and I just did this. For whatever reason, I always skip the cover of a sketchbook because I am not, I don't know, it's like a weird mental thing. I just never start on the first page. So I left these 2 pages totally blank, and I came back to them different times when I was like, hey, I need to fill out the sketchbook. So this one was a fun piece that, again, anytime you see a sunset and some palm trees, it's just me practicing getting better with the brush. I really think you can't go wrong doing things like that. And this was just a nice color study with my Inktense pencils. It was super fun. Emma LaFave, and if you don't follow Emma, you need to. She has an amazing watercolor channel on YouTube. She did a series on 3 different watercolor whales that were just loose and fun and easy. I did 2 of them in this book, and I love how they turned out. This is the first one. Here is a piece I did from Emma Block's watercolor book, which again is another, I love watercolor books. I love going in and following a tutorial as a way to up my skills. I think that we all could learn from watching other people, and so I love when people have tutorials out there that are meant to be followed. Speaking of which, this is a Skillshare class that I did with at the Lakeside Studios. It is a Skillshare class about 10 different styles of mushrooms. It is, to date, one of my favorite pieces in my sketchbook. This page especially is one of my favorite pages ever. My husband and my daughter love to forage mushrooms, and I wanted to learn how to do mushrooms and like paint mushrooms. I wanted to learn how to paint mushrooms. And so I took this class, and it was great, and I learned so much. I have not gone back and done them again, but I really need to. So maybe this summer, this will be something that I revisit, because I really think I could do better on some of these. This is the end of that class, and I do think these 3 I could do better on today. But man, it was a fun class to take. I did that one with Daniel Smith watercolor. I don't remember what I did the rest of these with, but this was definitely Daniel Smith. This also was Daniel Smith and was a Let's Make Art tutorial that I have done a couple times now. I really like how this particular version of it turned out, but just the idea of a sunny wheat field is very appealing to me. This was just, again, everybody has a couple throwaway pages in a sketchbook. I was playing with new paints, and that piece did not turn out. This was me playing with new paints, the green leaf and blueberry paints that I got for Christmas in 2020. And it was just me playing with 4 colors to see what I could do. My trees are certainly better now, but yeah, I had fun playing with it, and it gave me an idea about each of the paints themselves and how they were going to work together. Here's a loose floral I did, just with a heart in the middle. I am trying to remember what paint set I used for this, because it was a while ago. I don't know, but I do really think it turned out cute. This is a tutorial I did out of Mako Chino's book, which, again, another great resource, another great YouTube artist. If you're not following Mako, what are you doing? You need to get over there and follow her. Here I played with my Albrecht Dürer Magnus pencils just to see how they would wet down. So I just scribbled, and then after I did that, I was like, I'm going to just put like a pattern on top of it. So I took some white gouache and made daisies just so that it would have a little more interest. This was a redo of a piece that I had previously done of balloons, and it turned out much better this time. I would like to redo this piece again because I think my trees are better now, and I think I could get more depth with the balloons. But I am very happy with this piece compared to where it was prior to this. Again, I think this was another one out of Mako's tutorials. Loved it. Turned out really cute. Was a lot of fun to do. I don't remember why I drew this peacock, but he's cute. He's cute. It was, again, fun to do. Galaxies. There's a lot of galaxies in here because this is paper that can take a lot of water. So this is one galaxy that I did. I really like how this one turned out. Another of my favorite pieces that I've done in these 2 sketchbooks, these Misty Mountains, turned out really cool. And I may make this an art print on Etsy. I really like how that one turned out. This is me following another YouTube or Instagram artist. She does transparent flowers. I will link her below because I can't remember. I think her name is Natalia, but I can't remember her full name. But I love doing that, and that was a fun process to do. I did these on 2 separate days, but I had drawn them on the same page. This is an unfinished piece that I'm not going to come back to because I don't like how it started, but I did like how I got the reflections in the water to be there, so that was nice. When in doubt, draw some mountains or do a sunset and draw some palm trees. You know, I like to do that. There's a lot of pages like this in these sketchbooks. Oh, this was a totally failed experiment. I was trying to do something with different textures, and I quit after the second layer. Maybe I could do something on top of it to make it cool. Maybe I'll do some line work on it someday to make it look nicer. But in the meantime, let's look at the galaxy, because I do like this galaxy. I think this galaxy turned out super cool. Alright, over on my Twitch channel, I did a series called Watercolors of the Wild, and hopefully I'm going to bring that back. I'm hoping to get onto Twitch more in the upcoming year. And this was Laurel and Village. This was the practice piece I did, the actual print piece that I did. I don't have it with me here, but I have it on my Etsy shop. Here's another sunset mountain piece. Like how this one turned out. Like I said, I think my trees are better now, but these trees aren't bad by any stretch of the imagination. They're just a little uniform, and I think I've gotten better at making trees look less uniform. Another mountain piece with trees. When I feel anxious and need to move my hands, this is always a go-to piece for me. Another tutorial I did from Mako's book. I love this one. Love how it turned out. It's fun to learn how to create depth with value. And that is something that I work on because it is one of the hardest things to do well in watercolor. And so I really like how that one ended up. Here's another galaxy. This one was inspired by a tutorial by Emma Lefebvre. This was inspired by Jenna Rainey and her everyday watercolor book. That I have a different sketchbook that I worked my way through with that, and that was a really rewarding experience also. Another thing I really like to paint when I don't know what to paint is cactuses. So there's some cactuses. Here's a wreath that I did, and turned out okay. Not my favorite piece, but again, you don't get better with things like loose florals or with leaves without doing it over and over again. So I was trying to get like budding flowers here, and I think I did a good job of getting more loose florals that look like budding flowers with some good white space, and I kept the round shape pretty well, and I could have done a better job with value on the leaves for sure, but overall it was a good look. So here is another palm tree, and here is another set of trees with more different sunsets. I like to do different levels of sunset colors, so this is a pretty standard one. This one is a color I get outside my house all the time, where the yellow is fading into almost like a green, and then into a blue that's kind of into the black of night. That happens all the time as one of our colors at sunset, and I love it. I think it's a really neat color combo, so I do it a lot in pictures. Really like how that one turned out. Actually, the one in the back of my other sketchbook, it was based on the thinking about this piece. Another galaxy, I signed it upside down. I don't know why. This was my first attempt at jellyfish with Yuli watercolors, and it turned out okay. My subsequent attempts, I think, have been better, but this was a fun way to test the pieces, and I wasn't really going for realistic here. I was just going for fun. Loose floral piece that I really like. I like how this one turned out. We could do better with value. I'm still always working on getting different values into things, but I do like the simplicity of it, and I like how it looks in this book. Here's my second whale that I did from Emma Lefebvre's watercolor whales. I did this with some KMS watercolors, and they were really fun to work with on this piece. I like KMS watercolor a lot. It granulated really pretty, and I think that was a cool fact on the whale. Another loose floral piece. I made myself a color palette up here and went at it. It was fun to work with, and I'm always trying to learn, so this wasn't my favorite piece that I did, but the values in this one are a little bit better than the values in this one, but the florals and the composition of this one is a little better than this one. So, learning. A little lavender field I did. The thing I really like about this piece is the sky and the landscape background. I think turned out really good. The front of it could be a little bit cleaner, but it was a great first experience at trying this kind of piece. Here's a watercolor floral I like a little bit more. I still think the flowers are a little too tight looking, but I do like this piece. Again, need to work with my value. I think that I get worried if it's too light that it's not going to lay down, but I think I need to work with value. Here we have this really pretty misty fall piece. So when I did this, I imagined that it was like on a lake, but I showed this to several people that were like, this looks like mountaintops. And so now I like that idea of it too. I like thinking of it both ways. This is my annual snowman. Every year I do a snowman to show my progress as an artist. And I don't have the other two with me, but this one turned out really good. I used Inktense pencils on this one that I got for a birthday present this year, and it turned out awesome. Here's another Misty Mountain piece that I did. Not quite as good as the other one, but still fun. Still learned something. Here's another sunset piece. I was kind of playing with really making this kind of go from water, or from sky to like sunset to water, but I didn't go back and ever like separate it. And then I just kind of put this little bit of weedy, reedy stuff here just to kind of indicate that this was going into water. And I like it. I think I could have done more detail, but I do like it. Here's me playing with flowers, but I mean, can we just talk about this delphinium? Because it's the bomb. Like, I really love painting delphiniums. I think they're one of the things I am pretty good at, and I love how that one turned out. Okay, here's into some newer pieces. This was done with all jelly gouache, but it turned out so cute. I love this piece. I am really pleased with how it turned out, and I got some really cool details on the mountains, and I got some really cool reflections in the water and some cool textures in the grass. So for this being one of the first pieces I've ever done in completely jelly gouache, I liked it. This one was up on my Instagram not too long ago. It is a reflection of a lighthouse, and again, I think that it didn't turn out too bad. I am constantly trying to learn and get better, and I think I could have done better on the clouds. I did actually, Colby Bloom's watercolor class that I recently, the 10-day little mini class that I did that was free, I learned a lot about clouds from her there, and I'm looking forward to employing a lot of those techniques going forward. So that was cool. This piece was a jellyfish that I think turned out really, really, really fun. It was the Derwent pastel set of watercolors, and then I added some Prismacolor at the end just down here, a little bit on the detail of the jellyfish, and it turned out super, super fun. This was in a scrawler box that I originally got this pan set, and I really have had fun learning about it, and I hope to do more pieces with that pan set. I think I did this background with the Cotmans, the new Cotmans that I just got, I think. It was either that or my Daniel Smith palette, but this was just a fun little piece that I did out of Colby Bloom's first book. It was inspired by a tutorial in there, and I wanted to play with a different sunset blend, and I think that I learned a lot about it, and I love doing silhouette pieces. Never thought to do silhouette cactuses before, so that was fun. And last but not least is another piece out of Colby Bloom's most recent underwater or water seascapes class that I did. And this was an underwater piece with a little turtle. I think this is so cute. But I learned a lot about using gouache to kind of highlight light streaks. There are things I don't like about this piece, but there are a lot of things I do like about this piece. And this was another really good value study, and that is something I'm trying to improve upon. So there it is. It turned out really, really good. And I wrote in here that this book was from December 2020 to May 2022. My first book that I showed you. I said that it started July 2021. So I guess in here, I should also write that it was finished. This is way too thin. Here, we'll use this, actually, this Zig Writer right here. That is much thicker. That is much thicker than this other pen. That's okay. Finished. We'll go the other end. May 2022. So, very exciting stuff. So anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed that. That was kind of a longer video than I'm usually putting out these days, and it was a different video, but it gives you a chance to just see some artwork that I've done, see that as I have grown, I have definitely progressed. Just giving an example of that, I think, a really good example is the difference between this piece and this piece. So these pieces are meant to kind of be very similar. I didn't end up putting birds in this one, but I think you can see if you look at the trees back to back especially, the trees in the first piece are much more uniform. The trees in the second piece are much more what I would call like natural looking. I think that the stars in this piece are pretty, I don't, aggressive's a bad word, but like your eyes gets drawn there instead of it just being kind of a footnote to kind of move around the piece. Here, the lighter stars kind of just give the idea that it's starting to become night, but it hasn't yet. So I like that better. I don't have birds in this piece, but I do think that my birds in here are pretty good. But yeah, it just gives kind of an idea about the difference in quality of work, and it's fun to see how you progress over time. So that's going to be it for me today, and I hope that you were inspired by this to go out and create some artsy bits yourself. Fill up that sketchbook and look back at it and be proud of yourself for doing it. Have a great day, everybody. Bye for now.